G'day, dickwads, and welcome to the 26th edition of Cinema Effect. This is actually halfway through the year. We have now officially, unlike what I'd said, done half a year of these somehow. I'm Zach and I'm joined by the third revelation, the third John Cena, Liam.
Hello. I'm surprised you went with that intro, Zach. Not gonna lie.
Pretty
That should
bold, because we were talking about it last week, and to jump straight into that one, that's
That was the goal. That was the goal. And we've got potentially the false prophet, Jaden.
Hi.
Well, for the uninitiated, this is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single week. The show posts every Monday. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, listen to the show, rate us. We appreciate all of that. Follow the Instagram page for all of the latest updates. And remember to submit your questions, thoughts, reviews for next week's film in the YouTube comment section. Anything you write there we'll read at the end of the show. But our specific question of the week we'll be asking you is, what's your favourite movie dog? Alright, what's your favourite dog in any movie? You've got plenty of options. Alright, we all love some dog movies, at least, I'd like to think we all do, right? So, get on that one, let us know. This week we're reviewing There Will Be Blood, which opened in the US on the 26th of December 2007. It was directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. It had, the genre is a drama, I guess, but this is where what is the definition of a period piece? Is this a period piece? And does that even count as a genre of something?
Yeah, this is a period piece.
Yeah. Well, I guess most of his films are period pieces. PTA, he kind of always does a specific.
Yeah. I know, because I just had the thought because, a period piece, all it's saying is that the movie is set in a time of old, in an age of old, right? But, that's not really a genre. That's just the setting. So, I don't know. But whatever.
Yeah, but for films like Pride and Prejudice and shit like that, that in terms of films like that, that's where a period piece kind of becomes a genre,
I mean, that's just like a romance, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but I feel like you
just
could
call that
also.
genre?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are those situations where the story in some way relies on or is very much dependent on the time period itself, would you say?
Yeah, Finny, I'm going to be honest, I have no idea.
Cool. I mean, I don't know Pride and Prejudice, but yeah. Terrific. This is the kind of high quality discussion we love. Anyway, the synopsis for this movie is a story of family, religion, hatred, oil and madness, focusing on a turn of the century prospector in the early days of the business. Dude, that's a killer synopsis. God, that's like a top tier blurb on the back of a book. You know what I mean? I love it.
Better than the movie.
Oh, Jane, you have to start now. Go.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just taking the piss because I know how much you two love this film. I didn't think it was all that, but I still did, like it. I think it severely dropped off after this first act, though. But I guess we'll chat about that.
All right, Fitzy, now it's your turn to sing its praises.
No, yeah, you guys know how much I love it. I think it's brilliant. I think every element of it is just top notch. Like the cinematography, the acting, I can't really fault it. So
very good, very good. I mean, I've kind of had an arc with this movie. I think where, Fitzy will test you. I didn't love it when I watched it the first time. I thought it was good. I appreciated its technical aspects, but I don't know. The first time I watched it, I was bored a bit. Mainly because, I don't know, it could have been a mood thing. It could have been a thing of, this movie definitely isn't for everyone. It's not an overly accessible movie, really. But I didn't really know what it was when I first watched it. And I dive into, the bloody first 15 minutes are so deliberate in every way. And they're just so drawn out and so kind of precision perfect sort of in what they're trying to do. But for me, just jumping into this movie, I'm like, well, I don't know what the hell this movie is. And then kind of that's what I'm met with, I'm met with just no dialogue forever, crazy sounds and music and just pure acting. I was like, this is kind of jarring right now. But so no, I thought it was good the first time I watched it, but I kind of grew to appreciate it a lot more, having discussions with Fitzy about it over time, and also just thinking back on it. I think. So no, I was really looking forward to watching it this time with the knowledge of the story and my expectations in mind, and I watched it, and I just loved it so much. I was surprised because I thought that there was still a chance I'd be bored at points, and I was rarely bored. I was really bored. I was so engrossed in everything, and parts that I thought kind of went forever the first time really didn't go that long this time. I think maybe because I was watching with subtitles really helped as well, and that kind of cleared up some confusing things for me. The twins thing being kind of notorious. That was, I think confusing to most people the first time. But no, so that helped with a ton of things, and I was just all in on this second rewatch, and no, I loved it. I loved it. And I don't know. I just think this movie is dripping all over with personality and with character everywhere. Um, and is there any better place to start than Daniel Day-Lewis? Let's just get it out of the way, okay? Because everyone on planet Earth, knows about his performance here. We all know how good of an actor he is, but he is, in every single way, the heart of this movie. The character is, and his performance brings it to life so well. And I think this speaks for the entire movie. It's not very grounded. It's not. I wouldn't call Daniel Plainview, or at least Day-Lewis's portrayal of him, a really grounded character or a realistic character. It's not a great performance because of how it sells you on this guy's kind of real. As a matter of fact, it's kind of the opposite. Like, the performance is often hyperbolic and kind of exaggerated and off the wall, and feels like it doesn't really belong in the real world, but feels like it belongs in this movie. That's kind of what I love about it, I guess. Sorry, I'm rambling on here, but this movie has so much character, and I think Day-Lewis kind of brings a lot of that to it. But yeah, how do we feel about Plainview / Daniel Day-Lewis in this movie?
Yeah, like isn't he in like every scene or like 99% of them? I'm
Yes,
pretty sure.
right.
I think so.
Well, off the top of my head, I can only think of very brief shots. When they're hanging out in Little Boston there, and there's a handful of shots that are like random characters arriving from the train station or whatever, or on the train. Like, he's not in a few of those shots, I guess, but that's pretty much it. Did you like the character? I guess, but performance excluded. Like I said, I think I kind of covered everything pretty good. We all get it. He's great. But the character is really something else to me as well. I think it's easy to give the actor credit, but everything on the page as well just really, I don't know, just full of personality. But do you like Plainview as a person? Maybe morally, that's where we should go with this. I don't know.
I mean, like, you're not supposed to like him as a person. I thought that's pretty evident, is it not? Like we can. I think in the first act, we can kind of root for him, and in the second act, we can still kind of get behind him, even though as he kind of crumbles a bit. But by the end of the film, I don't think he's someone that we're meant to like.
No, I don't think so. Although I love him anyway.
I think he's not like a moral character, but he's like very noble because of his determination and his like willingness to do everything himself, basically. That also kind of drives him to to like having no one in his life. And like one thing I thought about this time was that there is actually no family member that Daniel ever sees in the film. There's only his fake son and his fake brother, and so it's kind of like it's like a lifelong struggle or loneliness for him. But I mean, at the same time, he does bring it upon himself, like just his like his search for control and stuff. And I mean, it's a good companion piece to Punch Drunk Love because not Punch Phantom Thread. I mean,
Right,
it's
yeah.
kind of like you can kind of see like the character in that film is kind of more. He's just as like controlling and like I guess I don't know, like his own thing, but he's also just he's able to make that sacrifice in the end. Uh, Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, definitely. He's headstrong in his own ways of just, my way or the highway for very colloquially, if I want to say it like that, but totally. No, at the end of that movie, you see a compromise, whereas you don't really see that at all here.
While we're talking about characters and stuff, I'm not sure how much if you're going to bring up later, but like, I had no idea that Paul Dano was in this film, and I was really excited to see him.
Oh, wow.
Because I love him. I think he's great. But I was rather disappointed by him in this film. I just thought his performance wasn't, there.
Really?
Yeah, I just wasn't. I mean, like, I just didn't buy him as this, Sunday church, preacher that's this over the top. I just did not buy into his role at all. I'm not sure whether that's because of my preconceived ideas of him as an actor, but I could not get behind him.
Well, are you? I feel like I don't buy him into him in that role either, but because he's not that. You know what I mean? That's not who he is. He's kind of full of shit like the whole time, right? I don't know if that's exactly what you meant by that. Like maybe you do mean on a more technical level, like the performance just didn't connect with you in that way. But I didn't buy him as the preacher either, and I don't know if you're meant to,
Yeah. Weirdly enough, I would agree with everything Jaden said, because he's like Paul Dano's character and Eli and Daniel are supposed to be foils for each other in the film, in the way that Daniel's business is something that he actually cares about and he's determined in, and Eli just uses his religion for capital and profit. Basically, he doesn't actually believe all that shit is saying. That's part of why Daniel hates him so much. It's because he actually doesn't have that nobility or thing that he actually wants to strive for or care about. He feels like a fake, And are you going?
Definitely. Is that what you were talking about, Jaden? Or
I understand. Yeah, no, I understand all that, and like that, like I did get that throughout the film. I think it's pretty plain, but I still wasn't able to get behind his performance, knowing that he was putting on this charade, that he was hiding behind this veneer of religion. It's for him to have played that character better. I think it should have been a stronger, like as in like emotionally and physically stronger. Not like the fact that Daniel just like straight up slaps him around in that one scene. It really took me out, because like I feel like someone that's trying to like use religion and exploit it for his own benefit. You'd think it'd be better. You think he'd be a stronger person than that, and like he wouldn't allow for that to occur. And like that's why because we're kind of constantly seeing him being like a sniveling little slob, it just felt like chalk and cheese as to what it's meant to be.
Interesting. Okay. Because I kind of see it as he just is this little shit. Basically, he's just kind of using the tool he has, or the skill he has, like, which I guess is his bravado, his theatrics, to his advantage to kind of manipulate everyone around him. But so hang on. So I guess the most acting, the very, very most acting, that's the sentence, but I think you'll know what I mean, is when he carries on in the actual church sessions and, pushes the bloody devils out of the room or whatever, and he's carrying on like a pork chop. Is that kind of overacting to you? Is that what you're talking about? Or is it just more what you mentioned with...
That's fine, because that's just what American church is like, I mean, like, we all know, like, that's what, the hardcore Baptists are like, and, they're screaming in their sermons and shit. So, like, that was not a problem to me. Like, it made me roll my eyes a bit, because, I hate seeing that, like, because it's just not, that's not what religion is to me, I guess. Like, that's my own personal thing. But, that's not my issue with the character. My issue kind of comes with, where he kind of, I guess he picks and chooses weird battles for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I guess you're right, because he does kind of... He takes a strong position in that he's going to bloody storm down there and confront Plainview, and then he's a pushover in that way, I guess. I liked that, but no, I see what you mean. I feel like Eli and Daniel in this movie, they're, as a pair, like, Fitz is 100% right. They're foils, obviously. that's the best pairing of a foil of characters, like maybe I've ever seen in a movie for me, where it runs so deep. And obviously, I really love both performances. So, that helps obviously. But I don't know. It's this weird thing where they, at first glance, seem polar opposite. You come to kind of, at least me, as the movie goes on, see their similarities. And then pretty quickly I was thinking like, oh, okay, are these two really much different from each other? You know what I mean? And then climaxing towards the end, you kind of go back to seeing their differences, but the differences aren't the same differences as you had at the start. It kind of continues to progress really strongly, where you realize how they're both basically trying to do a similar thing. Eli's trying to, create status for himself, feel like a powerful figure in this community through his church and all that, and through his bloody acting and shit. And that kind of puts him in a similar place to Daniel, but then, like Fitzy said, it when you get towards the end there and you realise Eli lacks the conviction, the dedication, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, synonyms for those words, that Daniel does. And that's why he beats the shit out of him with a friggin' bowling pin, which is so good.
What did you think of the soundtrack, Jaden?
I didn't have an issue with the soundtrack, but I had an issue with the way it was mixed. I thought especially in the first act, and I think it probably persisted into the second act as well, it was far too prevalent in the scene, if you get what I mean. Like, with that opening shot, like, it felt overly dramatic for what it was. I mean, it's just, a shot of this, rock formation, whatever. And like, I was like, all right, I can get past that. But then because it remains so prevalent and so overly dramatic in the next, like, 15 minutes, like, I think, like, musically it's fantastic, but, like, it just felt, it didn't feel like it fit to me,
Okay.
Yeah. I kind of get that. I kind of get it. For me, watching it the second time, like, kind of knowing what's going on in the future and knowing the entire arc of the story, it worked for me much more, where I kind of felt the intensity at the start, knowing what's coming. But when you say that, though, and you're like, yeah, we're just looking at rock formations, and I think later on, yeah, it just seems kind of standard shots we're getting with this crazy as shit music that you feel like you'd kind of get as a character murders another character or something.
Like yeah, it was great, and Johnny Greenwood did a really good job, but it didn't feel like it belonged there. And I mean, Finney brought up a good point that, like, it feels like it belongs with someone murdering someone else, and it kind of makes me think, was, how, like, we see, like, the mind collapse, whatever, and that dude dies, and, was that actually Daniel Plainview murdering someone with an unsafe workplace, some shit like that? But yeah, no, I stick by it being
All right.
place.
Well, with the opening sequence, like we mentioned, has no dialogue forever, which really is unique, but it makes it stand out, I guess. But the first time I watched it, I felt like I didn't really remember it. I felt like, oh yeah, at the start, don't we just watch people mine for oil, dig a hole for like 15 minutes? But I was totally wrong. Like, watching it again this time, I realized how packed with story that 15 minutes is, and it was clearly, yeah, I'd completely forgotten it. And I think this is probably the best example of PTA's direction in the entire movie. Like, obviously, I think it's top notch across the board, but in this first 15 minutes, the way in which he's able to communicate so much story to you, to the audience, purely through shots and the order of shots, and yeah, characters say nothing, basically. And I think that's really effective because, we get you get the time jumps. We start off with Plainview just, working his ass off. We see him break his leg and he has to climb out of the well, like, immediately. Great, I get it. He's been through some shit. Perfect. Communicated to me very well. And then, time jumps occur. He's been at this shit forever. We get the shot of him kind of he was like signing his bank balance or some bullshit. He's making no money out here. And so on and so forth until, the dude dies, unsafe workplace, like Jaden mentioned. He gets HW, he sings to HW. Like, all these beats are coming, and they're all strongly giving me a great message here of what this story is without saying anything. So I really appreciated that the second time.
Yeah,
I think it was a great setup. Yeah.
But I saw a comment regarding the film, like, that Daniel Day-Lewis staring at the baby HW, for like a couple of, for like 30, 40 seconds, however long it is, it like sums up the movie pretty well. Like, well, it sums up the character at least. And, nothing's even said, because in the fact that, Plainview is looking at, this child as nothing but a device, for exploits, He in his head, we see the gears clicking as he's trying to figure out how he can exploit this child to make more of a profit.
Do you believe it's that plain and simple though? Because that is definitely a side of it, 100%. And I don't doubt that in that moment he probably is thinking that in that very moment. That's the note it starts on. I get that. That's the note it also ends on. But I personally, don't believe that's it.
He did care for HW a lot. I think, like, when he's like 9 or 10 or however old he is, it's obvious that he actually does, care for the child to an extent. But the fact that the relationship was formed off that notion of, I can milk you, like it kind of invalidates everything else. And is invalidate a word? I don't even know. We're just going to continue making shit up on the show.
Yeah.
Of course.
But I mean, like it undermines perhaps the relationships is more what I was looking for. But I think
sure, well,
there is a degree of love there. I mean, I think it's most evident when, like, the well explodes or whatever, and we see HW loses hearing for the first time, and Plainview's out there. But then in my mind I question: was he running out there to save his child because he loves him, or was he running out there to save him because he's not done using him?
Well, he when that happens, like he gets HW to the little house or whatever, and then he goes out and he's looking at the oil that's burning, that's on fire, and I think his partner, I don't know his name, but his partner says, like, is HW okay? And he says no there.
Oh,
and he's kind of like has a blank expression, like he's like 100% focused on the oil there. So he's like always like either just it's a bit of both, I guess. But there is like a point in the movie where he like starts to not care for him, I guess. Yeah, he gets too invested in his pursuits, I guess. But yeah, he does. He does definitely love him at the start. Oh, I don't know, like at the start, as Jaden said, maybe he just was using him at the start, but he definitely grew for him. And like one of my favorite shots in the movie is just like the baby, like grabbing his mustache, Daniel's mustache on the train. I think that's the last shot of the first 15 minutes of no dialogue, and it kind of just sets the movie up really well. And it's just kind of I just love that shot. Yeah,
definitely.
I think
the whole. Sorry, Jane.
No, I was kind of wrap up. Like I think he did love him because, like, even like when it jumps to 1927, the fact that he's angered at that HW wants to start his own operation in Mexico. I think it shows that there's a degree of care there that the fact that HW is leaving him and he doesn't want that, whether again that's for money purposes or love, I don't know, but it kind of seemed like he still did care. But,
right. Yeah. I actually got like emotional in that scene where HW as like an adult comes to him, and they're like they're talking about that, and HW says like, oh, I thank God I have none of you in me, because it's kind of just like I think the movie is emotionally effective once you like kind of see all the subtleties and see that like Daniel does love him, and it's kind of a tragedy, the whole story. But like he still has admirable qualities, but it is like a tragedy in the end. But
right.
Yeah. But did the movie bore you at all, Jaden? Or like you said, it fell off after the first act?
Yeah, and like that's something I was I have no idea as to why this occurred, because literally nothing changes. I mean, like I was entirely invested in the first act. I was enthralled. I loved what I was watching. I was like, this is epic. But then, I mean, like, after that oil fire, I mean, like, I was just out of it, and it makes no sense as to why I was, because nothing changes. the pacing remains the same, the music, the story, the characters, everything remains the same. But for some reason, like from that point onwards,
Which fight are you doing?
sorry, the oil fire when HW
The fight,
goes deaf, yeah, from that point onwards, I was just kind of out of it. And like there was moments like when Henry came into the picture, I kind of grew more interested again. But for some reason, I just couldn't make that connection for a good portion of the film, like a good like hour and 45 minutes, however long it was. I was unable to fully get behind it.
Do you admire Daniel's good qualities? Because like I feel like you're talking about parts where Daniel is just alone, and you're not seeing the relationship. You're just seeing more Daniel.
Sorry, say again, because
like, do you see the good qualities, or like admire the qualities that Daniel Plainview like has?
What that is driven that?
Yeah, like all that.
Not really, because when I think about what drives him, you kind of just look at the underlying negative tones. Because yeah, he is driven, but he's only doing so for money. Like yeah, he's a family man, but he's a family man for exploitative purposes. Like I feel like for any reason that there's a good thing behind him, there's a negative reason under that.
Okay, like that's interesting, because I think that's where, like, I can understand why you wouldn't be invested in that point, because like when I see Daniel's determination, I kind of see the work as kind of an end in itself. Like, he wants the money, of course, but it's kind of like it's its own kind of, like, I don't want to call it an art form, but it's like it's its own kind of thing for him. Like, this thing for oil that he has is, to me, like, not just for money. It's kind of his whole, purpose in life or whatever. But like the fact that you see the monetary gain, which like I can understand, like that makes me understand why you wouldn't be as invested in Daniel, I guess.
Does that purpose, do you think, relate to, like you mentioned, he hates people on a very surface level, hates people, wants to get away from people, wants to live by himself, all that shit, which he very much ends up doing.
Right.
Is that what you're talking about, do you think?
I'm not talking about just a solitary, like, oh, he wants to get enough. Like, as he said, like that's what he says, but I don't think that's his actual, like, driving force. I think the driving force is the business, and his like kind of creation itself. Like, he creates like him just doing, getting the silver at the start. He says, like, there she is. Like, it's something that's beautiful to him. And him, like, creating the oil well, like, designed by someone else. It's kind of something that he's actually passionate about, I feel. And like, I think, like, if Jaden just sees the monetary thing side of it, like, that's fine. I can, like, completely understand that, because a lot of the movie is about how he's just, a greedy bitch. But that's, I guess I see that other side of him a lot more, personally.
Yeah, no, totally. I personally absolutely admire his those characteristics about him, for sure. I do. I mean, I don't appreciate how he does it. Obviously, I don't think his drive to grow his business and earn money and grow his empire essentially is at all a bad thing. I just, obviously you should be treating people fairly and well when you do it, and he doesn't. So I can't admire that, but I absolutely admire the core of that aspect of it. And I agree with you, because I think it is that thing of, in real life, we see so often with these entrepreneurs or these people that have built enormous empires or businesses or whatever, on their own essentially, or they are the driving force behind that. And you see how they earn all the money in the world, but they continue to work their asses off every day. And I think that is that same sort of, characteristic in Daniel that we see in real people. I think it's a very real thing that people have. That's kind of, can't be described, or there's no real end, as you said, other than that.
Right. Well, I do think he has, like, somewhat of a moral code. Like, I don't know, like, is the unsafe, the death at the start, is that, like, would you call that a product of its times, or can you like blame Daniel for that?
No, that's a product. Like that. That's not Daniel's fault. I mean, like he was down there too. He had every chance of being crushed as well.
Oh
That's
yeah,
not
Right.
right.
that's
He
not
was
his
just next
fault.
to him.
Yeah, that's a product of the time. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that, and I think everything we're talking about right now links back to the title in a really great way. I love the title of the movie so much. It's probably one of my favorite movie titles I've ever heard. There Will Be Blood. To get to the position that Daniel is in, or he wants to, that he wants to get to the end we're talking about, there is going to be shit's going to go down along the way. You know what I mean? Whether it's his fault or not, and a lot of the time it is, and a lot of the time it isn't. And I think that's an example of to get to the top, he needs to use this new machinery. He needs to come up with new methods to be more efficient, obviously. And in the process of doing that, he loses people. And there was an accident, and the same thing. They lost another dude later in the movie too, and so on. And of course, and that's just discounting the personal losses he suffers as well. He loses his son, obviously, in the process of all this as well. Um, yeah, no, I think that all links back to it.
Yeah, and he has someone who's comes to imitate him. Imitate his brother as well, and like he feels that loss as well. But like, yeah, that's
Exactly.
you can you can see like yeah, one of his elements is obviously this controlling nature, and that's I just like how it's shown in smaller ways in the movie, like when they first arrive on the farm, and they're hunting for quail, and they're like he asks HW to get the water instead of the Eli family or whatever, and that he kind of does
Mm.
that like for everything, and it's like it's hard because it's like it's admirable, but it's also just it's his downfall, and that's like that dichotomy is like part of just why I love the film so much, and how it's just shown like so subtly through just like his face, just the entire film is
Yeah,
it's incredible.
definitely. I feel like that's a good cap on kind of everything that we've talked about so far. Is that the whole film to me is a dichotomy. It's a dichotomy, obviously, between Eli and bloody God Daniel. It's a dichotomy when we're discussing: does he care about his son? Does he not? Does he? Does he? Why is he doing this? Is he actually courteous or not? It's just kind of it's crazy. It kind of has you all over the place with him because totally when he is so polite on that surface level, it's hard to just not as I feel like maybe as human beings we kind of just when we see that it's hard to not on some way connect with it or appreciate it as soon as we see it. So that kind of something that never really leaves you. I don't think you kind of still remember that even if it is bullshit. And that's another thing you got to ask: is it bullshit? Well, probably.
Yeah, because like that's kind of got me thinking now. Like the like 'cause, like when he like he makes sure that Mary is her name. Like he asks, no more beatings or whatever. And he makes sure that she's alright. I kind of the first time I kind of perceived that as like him being a genuinely good person and ensuring that this little girl is okay. But now I kind of perceive it as was this another way of like exerting his control over Eli and like the Sunday family and making sure that
Wow.
they
Yeah.
can't,
Right.
him imposing himself on their life.
Yeah.
Hadn't even thought of that.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the other times I thought it was just him do like trying to look after Mary, but I think like I think like a couple of minutes earlier in the film you see Henry talk about how Mary was abused by her dad, and then you can see the you can see the slight like pain in Daniel's face when he can see that his son is hurt by that. So to me, he's actually doing that for HW. Um, yeah, to me, he's actually doing that for HW because he feels bad about Mary being feeling bad. You know.
Speaking of Henry, how do we feel about Henry in this movie? Because I don't know how to feel about him. When he turned up, he was the only part of the movie I'd actually like completely forgotten, dude. When he turned up in this rewatch, I'm like, wait, what's happening? What? He's got a brother? What? I completely it escaped me completely. I don't know. How do you guys feel about him? Because he was, I feel like he's kind of forgettable. that whole aspect of the movie, maybe we do get some conversations with him that seem to have some thematic depth, which is interesting, but I feel like it's just kind of a 20-minute section of the movie that I don't know if I need.
Like when Daniel kills him, and like when he actually reads the diary of his actual brother, and he cries. That's like the first time in the film I think he actually like shows some kind of like pain or emotion that's actually like really affecting him. So you could call that just a plot device to get to that, I guess. But it is important in the grand scheme of the film, I think.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
the fact that he has no family, and the fact that he's like, alone his whole life, and everyone else is just an imposter, kind of, or feels like an imposter to him by the end.
Definitely. And I can see how, like, even though, Henry didn't kill his brother, or, fake Henry didn't kill real Henry or whatever, I could see, from his perspective, how he would feel like he was kind of, he was definitely cheated, and he'd feel like he'd be kind of robbed in some way by feeling like he had met his brother and he did have that connection and it was kind of taken away from him. So, wait, hang on. So, this is the only part of the movie I found weird. Why did HW light the fire in the cabin? Was that a result of him being deaf and he didn't know what he was doing or something?
He read the diary, and I think he knew that it was not him.
Got it.
But
okay. I didn't put that together.
There's one scene in the film I don't understand is like just before that. Daniel is like, Daniel is like chugging the milk into HW.
Oh yeah, I thought that was really weird too because he spikes it as well with something, doesn't he?
The bottle is milk, and it looks like it's milk in a rum thing.
Yeah,
but like that might be some kind of comment like on the start when he puts the alcohol in the milk, and now the milk is in the alcohol. That could mean something, I don't know, but that scene just confused me because like just after that is when HW learns, well, like it seems like that after that HW learns that it's a fake Henry, but maybe he already knew at that point, and I don't know, Daniel was like angry at him for it or something, but I don't know. Like if that's it one scene in the film I don't really get.
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't just like, I guess maybe at the time I just wrote it off as like it was like hearing medicine or some bullshit. Obviously that makes no sense. You can't cure deafness, but
oh right,
like, is that I'm just trying to think because he definitely did see a doctor first, like not the actual doctor that teaches him, not the specialist or whatever that teaches him sign language, but there was another doctor. Was that before that? Maybe.
I think so. Well, that would make sense with what Jaden said, that he puts on something in the drink, in the milk.
Yeah, but I think it could just probably be like 19th century ignorance, 20th century, like early 20th century ignorance about like perhaps just by shoving this in his mouth we can cure it.
What do you think of the cinematography, Jaden?
Yeah, it's cool. I went into it wanting to pay attention to it because I hearing you guys talk about it, I knew it was something to pay attention to. And like it was really nice, and like but like I don't feel like it was anything glorious. With like I think there are occasions where like it's really spectacular, but like I mean, if you can identify I remember Roger Deakins said that if like the goal of the cinematographer is to make sure that people can't say, "Oh, I really like that frame alone," because then you failed as your job. Not necessarily failed.
Yeah.
You haven't fully delivered on making every frame memorable. So the fact that in my mind I can identify 6 or 7 shots here and there, like I think the cinematographer is good, but I don't think it's as good as it could have been.
I think that Roger Deakins quote is really weird, to be perfectly honest, just because that example he's talking about of if you can identify certain shots, then the cinematographer's not doing their job, that has never, in my mind, existed more than when I'm watching his cinematography.
Yeah, I was thinking about 2049 and how we talked about
and totally.
But
plenty of others and Skyfall and shit.
When we're talking about 2049, Finny, you yourself said that every frame's a painting. You said you wanted to frame every you said you wanted every.
No, that's.
So I mean, like that's.
I mean,
That's true, but nonetheless, there were, like, we were talking about, like, I pointed out, like, 3 that really stood out to me, and I feel like if that's what he's talking about, you know what I mean? If he's saying you should be able to identify anything in particular, and I totally could.
Yeah, I guess like that's kind of like, but like, yeah, I think we can all agree that the entirety of 2049 is spectacular, and then there's like 3 or 4 things that are just kind of stand out. Whereas in this film, I feel like it's kind of 6 or 7 things that are spectacular, and the rest is rather mundane.
The lighting in 2049 is amazing, and the cinematography is still great, but like I think the cinematography in this is just way better. Just like,
I reckon you're wrong.
Every frame a painting level. I mean, we're comparing things both like spectacular and cinematography, but
I mean, like, right, look, to put it into a better context, I think the cinematography in No Country for Old Men is better, and that like so now we're comparing 2 films with a similar setting. I think
I don't see that at all. Like, just even the start, like the blues at the start when he's like at the cave, and like the lighting when he's like hitting the silver rocks. It's just like I don't know how they even achieved that. It's just like incredible. And like when they go to the open fields, like they're going across the whole of Bandy's tract, and all those shots are just like, I don't know. I think it's like one of the best achievements in like cinematography that I've seen.
Hold on, I realized I tried to use No Country for Old Men as another grounding, but didn't Deacon shoot that as well?
He did.
Ah, shit. Yeah, like, look, no, like, I think the cinematography is good, but I like I said before at the start is, kind of bit, it could have been better, just personally.
I'm kind of the mind that I totally get what you're saying, Jaden, but I'm more with Fitzy in terms of, I think us as passive film viewers, and I think most people that watch films and don't have experience creating them fall into this trap, and I think we all do it. And that is, we look for, when we're actually complimenting cinematography, we're not really complimenting cinematography in the way that it's created. We're more just talking about what we find really visually appealing. Wow, that was really pretty. That was gorgeous, or whatever. And that's not really, I wouldn't imagine all cinematography is. And I don't know. I think that this movie actually achieves the Roger Deakins quote better than any other movie I've ever seen, in that I feel what you're saying, Jaden. There was nothing where I was like, dude, that's stunning. But everything felt so deliberate and on point, where I don't know, like so many things come to mind as set pieces that are elevated by the cinematography, but never did I feel like I was looking at a painting in the same way that, we pointed out for bloody Blade Runner and other things.
Yeah, like, I feel like 2049 has like bigger feeling cinematography. I don't think that's better. Like, I don't think the cinematography in a Nolan film is like better than a Paul Thomas Anderson film. That's just
right. I mean, there's something more inherently appealing, I think, about seeing Interstellar and seeing space and shit just as as film viewers than seeing bloody 1910 California. You know what I mean?
Well, personally, I don't. I can see how most people would see that, but just on like a composition level, like that doesn't mean it's better if it's like bigger and has more beautiful elements of like lighting and stuff.
Yeah, no,
definitely.
I agree with that, but I think you're underselling Nolan here, because I mean, I think the composition and the framing in Dunkirk is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's 10 films, so I mean, depends which one we're talking about, I guess. But like, just in general, I feel like trying to support what Zach was saying, just with the the idea that bigger is better.
Yeah, and also just inherently aesthetically pleasing also is kind of a factor, I guess.
I mean, it's subjective as well,
Oh, of course, totally.
Like personally, this is way more aesthetically pleasing to me than something, than the films that I've mentioned. But
oh yeah, no, I totally get that. It is just the fact that it is something I feel like we have to think about when we're discussing it. You know what I mean? Did you watch it with subtitles on, Jane? Because I just need to ask you, like, were you confused about the Eli Paul twin thing?
I didn't watch it with subtitles, and I was confused with the twin thing but I wasn't. I wasn't confused, but I wasn't confused for the wrong reasons. I just thought that when we got to the farm, that this Eli character was just I thought that this was just a charade he was putting on for the family because he didn't want the family to know that he'd already seen Daniel. So I just thought that was just a new act, and that was, they were starting that again. So like watching it, I wasn't confused. And then at the end, when it kind of said, "Oh, you know what I did with your brother," whatever, I was like, "Oh shit." So yeah.
Trivia time linking to this. Paul Dano was originally only going to play Paul. So he was only going to be in that one opening scene where he tells Daniel about the town. But whoever was playing Eli, I don't know, they might have said I didn't grab it, whatever. Whoever was playing Eli dropped out, leaving Paul Thomas Anderson to make the decision that Paul Dano was going to play both roles. And that's why there's no actual explicit mention of the script that they're twins, because they weren't meant to be twins. You know what I mean? All we get, you're right, at the end is the kind of realization moment where Daniel's like, Paul was the right brother. Paul's the legend these days, and there's no mention of them being twins or anything.
I wonder who was that original cast, because I wonder if I would have liked that performance better, because how I was talking about before.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But I was confused about this too. I remember what I had done actually, I'd watched, I want to say like the first hour of this movie, and like, and then I like left it for a week, I think, and then I remember Fitzy was the one that told me, "Oh, you realize like they're twins, right?" I'm like, "What?" So he like told me, and then I went back to the movie afterwards and finished it, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this makes way more sense now."
Dude, going into the film, I knew there was something to do with milkshakes, but I had no idea what it was about, because like I'd seen so many memes about like drinking milkshakes. I was like, oh, maybe Daniel Plainview's drink of choice is just milkshakes or some shit. And then like throughout the entire film, there was no milkshakes. So I was like, oh, that's a bit confusing. And then it gets to the end, and he's screaming at Eli, I drink your milkshake. And I was like, ah.
Well, that's something I don't feel like we have really talked about or really sold well enough about this movie. And I mean, it could have belonged, I guess, in the performance area, but regardless, it's just this movie is just so many memorable little moments. Not a whole lot really crazy happens in this movie, really, but just so many little lines of dialogue and bits and pieces stand out so much. The friggin' milkshake, there's a reason it's memorable, because it's friggin' awesome. What is it? Bastard from a basket, the third revelation, so on and so forth. There's so many crazy lines that just stand out in my head.
Yeah, the scene where HW jumps off the like the deck of the Eli porch, I think it is, or some kind of porch, and then Mary jumps with him, and then it cuts to 1927 or whatever. That's like that's probably my favorite edit. It's just so like it reminds me of a similar edit in like 2001. It's just
Yeah, no, totally. It felt so right for the. I wasn't expecting, when I watched it the first time, I wasn't expecting the story to jump there, but when it does, it feels like, so right.
Just on a they jump down, and then when they cut to 1927, it's on Mary, and it goes up, and like that motion in the film is just like so mesmerizing,
Yeah,
there's just a lot of moments like that.
I just realized that the film like completely like it jumps from like 1911 to 27. I mean that skips World War One, and I mean like Daniel Plainview would have made so much bloody money off that.
I mean, we haven't even talked like the way that he just pronounces everything, dude.
Oh yeah,
his voice. It's hilarious,
dude. Yeah, I think it's the best voice acting that I've like ever seen.
But like, and his method, right? So like he would have been like using that accent like outside of the film as well, right?
Probably.
God, I couldn't imagine that. Could you imagine he just walks into like some modern day establishment, like some just like shitty coffee shop, and he starts speaking like that? I mean, like, God.
Oh, yeah, dude, it's so good. Like, the speeches he gives, they're just phenomenal, and about how some of them were improv, which I don't even understand how a human being can improv that, like, and know your character that well. It felt so right. It was insane. And I know that, like, weird method, Day-Lewis shit, like, he was listening to Eminem, like, all the time when he's not on set. Like, he's there with his, like, earphones in, listening to Eminem. It's so weird. It's so weird. But just the way he says, like, I love the whole end mansion bit, which we haven't even gone into a lot of detail about, but like when he tells HW, "You'll be my competitor." So good.
Well, it's interesting because like now you said the Eminem thing, like I know that like I know that, like, because like with the way they emphasize the "or" on the end of that, I know that sometimes in his songs he kind of
Oh
does,
wow.
he kind of does focus on like those long draws of, like, like the "ors" and the "r." It's like maybe he was using Eminem to, like, kind of get that kind of accent.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Is it weird that, like, saying that on paper he was listening to Eminem, when he's making a film set in the early 20th century, right? But is it weird that, to me, it makes sense? Like, I totally see it in a weird way. I see Plainview listening to Eminem weirdly. I don't understand why, but it's crazy.
Like, what are you saying that? I guess.
I don't know. Just like the kind of the strong personality that he is. Maybe it kind of maybe resonates with the side of him that we see, when he goes on his rants to the friggin' the Union Oil people, or no, what the Standard Oil Company people, or whoever those businessmen were. You know how he just kind of, I don't know. Dropping the Eminem part for a second. What about those scenes? I don't know where I was going with the Eminem thing, but those scenes though, do they're kind of a question mark for me in terms of understanding Daniel as a person, in terms of why he takes such offense to these people who barely insulted him at all. You know what I mean? And he it treats it like such a big deal. It's such a kind of hyperbolic, um, you know, speech he gives and front he gives to them, I guess.
Sorry, is this when he just gets HW back, right?
No,
Well, yeah, the twice when HW isn't there and they ask, I hope your
right.
son's okay, and he's like, don't
Ah,
tell me how to parent my son, and then it
yeah,
happens the second time in the restaurant again. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Is it because, I don't know? Does he see himself as a family person and the slightest, or is it this insecurity of him that he has, maybe that he knows he's not, but he really kind of maybe wants to be, and the thought of someone challenging that really upsets him?
He wanted to do the pipeline with Union because then he could do it by himself. So he didn't want Standard. They would just be giving his oil over to Standard, and as he said, he wouldn't have
Yeah.
anything to do with it. I think, but I think at that point he's like, he's upset that his son is gone as well. So I guess it's just both
Again,
things.
yeah, the dichotomy again, where it makes sense for him to be, yeah, not be a fan of this conversation happening, this relationship from a business perspective. I don't know, maybe I feel like that is kind of the heart of why he's actually upset, though. Because at the end of the day, the business dude that works for that oil company really didn't say anything crazy at all. He was just like,
Mm.
didn't he say something just like, oh, I hope, hope your son's okay. I hope, hope, whatever, something like very passive along those lines, nothing egregious at all. And then as a result, he's like, don't tell me how to parent my kid or some shit.
Yeah, no, he just doesn't want to give his oil over. Probably. Have you got the piece of trivia about how PTA like moved the days around so that they could get revenge or whatever?
No, go, yeah, tell me.
So the scene where Daniel slaps Paul and like almost drowns him in the mud was filmed on one day, and then the next day is the baptism scene where Eli gets to slap Daniel around. So he positioned it so that like Paul could get his his revenge on
That's great.
on what's he yeah Daniel. Wait, what's the actor's name? Daniel.
Day
Yeah,
Lewis.
I was gonna say Daniel. Ugh, it's so confusing.
Daniel Plainview.
Yeah, when Paul Dano's character introduced himself as Paul first as well, I was like, oh, Paul Thomas Anderson was really inventive on this film.
Yeah. Oh god. But I love how I've very much almost made that mistake a few times in this conversation. I feel like I'm trying to say Day Lewis, but I'm about to say Plainview. I feel like the two things just merge together so much. That baptism scene though. God, I was about to say Plainview's performance. No shit. The performance there is so good, and it probably is partly on the page as well, because I feel like that's that thing where he obviously does not want to be there whatsoever. He does not want to do this, but he's doing it so he can get the Bandy, I think was his name, get his land. So he's there doing that, and I feel like in any other traditional kind of using traditional screenwriting philosophies in any other movie, that would be the kind of thing where the protagonist is like, his name's getting called up or whatever. And he's like, oh, I don't want to do this, or like sulking, and then he goes up and does it reluctantly. But the fact that Daniel was like clearly hated it, but was also really enthusiastic at the same time, and you can clearly like see how he's like putting it on. He's like, I thought it was really good.
I mean, he does do a bit of sulking on the way there. He delays it as much as possible. It's a very slow walk there, and he is a bit reluctant.
Oh yeah,
But no,
that's true.
I do. Yeah, no, I do. It's for sure different. I agree.
Yeah, it wouldn't play out like that in other movies. I don't think.
No.
Very good. Very good. Is there anything to talk about with Paul's death? Excuse me, Eli's death, really? Other than just I loved it. I loved how it happened.
I didn't.
Loved it. Really? Well, there you go. This is good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think I have any valid reason as to why I didn't like it. I just didn't enjoy it. I don't think I enjoyed seeing Plainview's character descend that far. Not that we hadn't seen him kill before, because obviously we'd seen him kill Henry. But this was like a madness had overtaken him, and to bludgeon someone to death with a bowling pin is rather extreme. And like the weird thing is, I can see his character doing it, so it's not really even a problem with the character. It's just there's something within me that didn't like that part.
Yeah. I think the movie did a good job in that entire Mansion 1927 sequence of making it really. He has kind of descended into some level of madness where, when they walk in, he's just like the furniture's all over the place. There's glass all over the floor because he's like just shooting anything as target practice. We find him sleeping in the middle of the bowling alley. Like, I feel like all of those things are like make me able to buy it.
Yeah, but
by the end,
I would have liked to see why he descended that far. I mean, because from our last view of him, in 1911, he's still relatively normal. Yeah, he's losing it a bit, but to see, in those like 17 years, what occurred to draw him into that state, I would have been a bit more curious about. Was he perhaps involved in the war more than we think? Was he affected by, I don't know, some weird shit that happened?
I think he just has like nothing to do anymore. Like, I feel like he conquered the oil business like too much. Now he's
just unsatisfied.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I get what you mean. We are never really explicitly shown that or anything. I feel like the movie does a fair enough job of that jump doesn't feel illogical. Like, I totally.
Oh no, I think I do like the jump, but yeah, I would have liked a bit more to know why Daniel's now like that.
I just like how the death scene, the bludgeoning with the bloody bowling alley pin, like how I've laughed multiple times when I'm talking about it because it really does feel like a comical scene. It feels to me like it plays out like in a comedy sort of, and it totally works in a weird way. Where that's the last thing that happens. The way he's like chasing him around the bowling alley, and like running behind objects, he trips. It just feels like it belongs, in a comedy, but also doesn't feel out of place. It's really strange, and it's also very violent, obviously.
The theme at the very end, like the credits theme, I didn't know that turned up earlier in the movie. It was halfway through the movie as well. I think, like when they open the well. Yeah, when they open the well. That theme played as well.
Right. Huh.
And there's prospectors. I think my favorite theme in the film is prospectors arrive, which plays when the like working men arrive on the train, like just after I think he convinces people to get their land. And then there's another theme called Prospectors Quartet, which maybe plays later in the movie and is like a little different and like slower. Like I feel like that happens a bit in the movie. Like there's things play twice. It goes back to the whole dichotomous thing. Things kind of played twice, but a bit changed by the end. They're a bit more demented.
Yeah, definitely. The credit music was great. I loved it.
Yeah, and some people think that he didn't actually kill Eli at the end. Like it was just him imagining it. Because the guy, his like his waiter or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like doesn't
Alfred.
seem, yeah, Alfred. Doesn't seem like he's like seen anything.
Yeah, but is that just him being so blasé to serving Daniel for years that he's used to his antics, or is that,
I mean,
Yeah, that's what I saw it as. Yeah.
yeah.
but I mean, he's killed someone, right? Like he would see.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you're on a massive payroll and, you're used to this kind of behavior and
Yeah, but like,
it's just your job to get rid of them, I mean, like...
right. But he has like no reaction. Like,
Yeah, but
it wasn't even like an eye roll.
yeah.
it's like, yeah, oh yeah, Eli. Some people say Eli like looks the same as well. Like he doesn't, he doesn't look like he aged. But I don't know if I fully buy that as well.
Well. Daniel doesn't really look like he aged that much either.
Yeah, and they added, like, a touch of grey, like, that's it.
Yeah.
Touch of grey and a hint of madness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, you just look
I
a
don't
bit
know.
older.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that idea, had never heard of that. I feel like that kind of kills the scene if that's the idea. Because that would feel really out of place. Like, never really in the rest of the movie, to my recollection, is there any kind of suggestion that anything is a potential dream sequence in any way. And that just kind of betrays a movie's visual language then.
Yeah, like I
If it makes no attempt to communicate it.
Personally, interpret it that way, but
Yeah. All right, out of 10, I'll give it a 10. I gave it a 9 last time. Everything I've said here, it's just amazing. Isn't it just great? Everyone's in full agreement. 10, right? Yeah. But I don't know. Like everything that I wasn't positive about last time, just this rewatch, knowing the story, subtitles, all contributed to kind of just create this full picture of something I absolutely adore. Henry's the only part of the movie that I'm like, don't know if this fully connects with me, but it's definitely not a major criticism. And like Fitzy said, it does kind of serve a thematic purpose in the end, regardless.
I mean, I'll give it a 10 as well. Yeah, I feel like I've said everything. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give it an 8. At the start of this conversation, I would have given it a 7, but after just talking through it and talking a bit more about the characters and their motives, and like, I still don't like their motives, but like understanding that, like hearing Liam's perspective is interesting, and hearing your interpretations. It's changed me to an 8. So
Cool. I mean, 8's great.
Yeah, but then you say that, and I'm like, oh, I mean, but did I really feel it was great? I don't know. Yeah. Look, I'm going to give it an 8 now, but we'll come back next week and I'll say it's a 7.
Sure.
We'll see.
The week after, it'll be a 4.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Robert Pattinson has Dorona, and therefore production has ceased on the Batman for now. What does this mean? I hope Rob get well soon, get back into that suit, you know what I mean? Selfish me, hurry up and finish the movie so I can watch it in 2 weeks, please. Realistic expectations of mine. But anyway, yeah, so there you go. I mean, that's kind of the big story, I feel like, this week. Anything to add? Nah.
No.
Not really. Very good. Cooper Hoffman, Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, will be leading Paul Thomas Anderson's next movie, which is apparently a 70s drama. I just googled that as Fitzy told it to me, and that's what it said. So, yeah. Could he be great? Yeah, sure.
He hasn't been in anything yet.
He'll come out of the gate swinging, maybe. He'll blow us all away.
It's funny that's happening, and as well as James Gandolfini's son playing Tony.
Dude, Fitzy, what is happening with that movie? Where is it? It apparently was shot a year ago. Where is it?
It was supposed to come out this year, wasn't it?
I think so, but I feel like I said that last year too. I feel like it's all over the place. We've known about it for years.
I think it'll come out this year.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to think it is just a Rona thing and that, it would be out by now. But also, like, I feel like in 2019, we thought it was coming out in 2019, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. I'm excited for that movie. Seeing young Gandolfini in there. Dude, he looks the part too.
Oh, yeah.
He looks great. I just want to hear a couple more ohs. Sorry for just isolating half our audience, or regardless, I should say, yeah, all of it, the entire audience.
Well, 2 people.
We enjoyed it though. We enjoyed it.
I didn't. You even isolated some of your contributors.
Oh, I only meant me and Fitzy. Obviously, you didn't
Yeah,
like it.
obviously, yeah.
But we don't really care.
No.
We don't really care if you don't like it. But you will like this: The Haunting of Bly Manor teaser. Jaden, tell us.
Yeah. I mean, a teaser was released for Haunting of Bly Manor. That's about all there is. Neither of you watched the first season. Well, I mean, I say first season, but it's an anthology series. I think
this is a Netflix show, right?
Yeah. I think it's brilliant. It's such a fantastic mix of like, you know, drama and horror, and like I'm really keen. And like so the first one was adapted from a Shirley Jackson novel, The Haunting, and this one is now being adapted from another classic horror novel. I think it's The Turn of the Screw. I think that's what it's called. And you know, it's just a teaser trailer and showing us, you know, some characters, and you know, it looks like more of the same stuff. Which, if that's the case, then that's very good, because you know, the first season was brilliant.
Is it starring anyone I know?
I don't remember the cast. I don't remember the names of the cast. I have a feeling you might know the main guy. I'm not sure what his name is though.
Wait, so
Yeah, I asked because I vaguely thought I did too.
wait, so is it Haunting? Is it like the same series, or like
It's an anthology series. So the first season was The Haunting of Hill House, and this one's going to be The Haunting of Bly Manor, and it's just, they're just adapting, you know, just like classic gothic novels.
I don't know if this is news or not, but like didn't The Boys season 2 came to Prime, right? I was gonna ask you about like you've seen the first season of Zach. I was just gonna ask you about the show.
Yeah. So yeah, it came to Prime last night, and I'm looking forward to jumping into season 2.
Well, how's the first season?
Really great. Definitely recommend it. Do you know anything about it, Fitzy?
Yeah, like they're superheroes, but they're like shit people, and there's like the guy who they killed his wife, and he wants to kill him, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Kind of
Pretty
sounds
much
like
nailed it.
Watchmen.
It is very much inspired by Watchmen. There's like direct Watchmen references. It itself is a comic too. Like the Boys comic, it like referenced the Watchmen comic. You know what I mean? So it's like kind of weirdly meta. And then it comes out to this show, and then it's kind of still the same thing.
Yeah.
Definitely some inspiration there, but it takes more of a comedic approach than Watchmen does.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've seen like some of the like memes and stuff.
Oh, okay. Okay, what's our highlight of the week? I've realised that I haven't written anything down, and I'm going to have to think about this for 1 second, so someone else go.
I'll jump in. Not necessarily my highlight, but I think I should talk about it since we reviewed Westworld on the show. I watched the original Westworld, 1973, I think, Michael Crichton. Is that how you say his name? Crichton? Crichton? I don't know.
Crichton.
Crichton? I have no idea, because I think I'm adding an extra C in there that I shouldn't be.
Is he the Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, great.
Yeah, dude, that shit's so different. Like, there's like, you can kind of see like the outline of Westworld season 1 in that movie, but I mean, like, it's so different. Like, like even tonally. I mean, not only just story wise, but like tonally, it's very much more audience. Like it's for a wider audience of like kids and shit. We're introduced to this idea of 3 parks at one time, and we're kind of just told that these 2 blokes are going on a bit of a mate's holiday. Bit of the old lads. And and then we kind of have the malfunction that kind of like sends shit to So I mean, like there are remnants of what we see in season 1 of the 2016 series, but yeah, it's very different. But it's okay. It's a bit cartoonish, but I kind of just chalk that down to the times and the subject that it is. Because I mean, when you have like a sci-fi film about not sending people back, but like giving people the experience of that, I think and you're making it in the 70s, naturally some of the material is going to come across as a bit exaggerated.
How long is it?
It's not very long. Probably like hour 30, hour 40, I think.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Or maybe I'm just misremembering, but yeah, it flies by.
I'll jump in now, I guess. Oh, do you want to go, Fitzy? Sorry.
Um, I don't really have anything.
I'll jump in. I finished The Last Kingdom on Netflix. I talked about it a few weeks ago. I was halfway through at that point, but I finished it now. And I finished the 4 seasons that are available. It was recently renewed to a 5th season, which is good. I'm very happy about that. And the show's really good. I really like it a lot. I would definitely recommend it if you're into something that want kind of a medieval story. You know what I mean? Cool characters. It's a very easy watch. It's a very light watch. It's nothing too deep or too complex that you're going to lose track of or anything like that. I don't want to discredit it at all because I do think the core of the story is really interesting. I think it's thematically interesting. It's based on a series of novels. I think. Yeah, it is. And the central character dynamics are cool. I really like them. The protagonist of the show and his kind of position in the world that exists in that period in England is really interesting because it's at a time when bloody back in the days when dude, I know not very great with history, but when England was a bunch of different kingdoms and shit. I think it was right before it became one kingdom. And there's
A United
Viking
Kingdom.
invasions. Yes, exactly. And there was a bunch of and this is when there's all Viking invasions and shit like that. And basically, the protagonist of the show is this dude who was born an English dude, but then was raised by Vikings, kind of thing. So then, inherently, the protagonist of the show is kind of torn between the two worlds, and that's kind of really what the show is thematically at its core is about identity and kind of about this quest to unite England and what is England and all these things. And I really like that side of it. I think it's really well done. But plot wise, it's pretty straightforward stuff. It's mainly just basically every season kind of chalks down to we've got to kill the Danes and unite England in this very specific way for this season. With some good political, intrigue, backstabbing kind of happening on the side as well. So, yeah, I would recommend it. It's not like an amazing show, but I'm definitely, when the next season comes around, I'll definitely be watching it day one. I'm excited. Okay, let's get into our question of the show. Last week we asked you who your favorite actress is. I believe. Yes, that was it. No, we did the dog one today. Don't jump ahead a week. I'm too excited for the dog answer. Luke said, I don't think that I have a particular favourite actress. In the sense that I actively follow their career and look forward to movies based on their participation in its construction. Well, I mean, that's fair enough, Luke. I don't think I do that either. Much. I don't think I do. But I suppose I've seen a lot of Maggie Smith and Emma Watson largely due to their involvement in Harry Potter. Emma Thompson is a good laugh as well. Some good answers there. The Maggie Smith one definitely resonates with me. 100%. She's great. Any Maggie Smith love out here?
I honestly don't know what she's been in other than Harry Potter. I mean, I'm sure I've seen some of the films, but I can't think of anything now.
Another hallmark. I mean, I've seen her in a few other little things, I think, along the way. But a major hallmark for me for her was also Downton Abbey, which I've seen a fair bit of. Never finished it, but seen a fair bit of it. Dude, she's killer in that, dude. Holy shit. She's got some amazing lines. Some one-liners that I still say around the house to this day because they're hilarious. But what are our answers? And by our, I mean your.
This is the most basic answer I could possibly give, but Scarlett
That's all right.
Johansson, probably one of my favorite. She's just been in too many things that I really love, like Under the Skin, Marriage Story, Her, Lost in Translation, all those. But I'll just you guys mentioning Harry Potter and TV shows. I just thought Edie Falco in The Sopranos as well.
Oh yeah,
it's just incredible. And I think Michelle Williams as well. Just in Manchester and Manchester by the Sea and stuff like that. So, but yeah, those three, I guess.
I feel real stupid. I didn't think of TV. Edie Falco, totally great answer. You can go, Jaden, if you like.
Hey, sorry. Are you not going to go, Finny?
I'll go if you like. You want me to go?
Yeah, you go because I'm trying to think.
Okay. I've got Anna de Armas is a recent one for me. You know, I definitely haven't seen enough of her. No Time to Die. That's gonna be fun. But you know, Blade Runner. Obviously, we talked about her plenty a few weeks ago. She's great. And then also, but mainly, honestly, probably Knives Out for sure. She was terrific in that. Um, she really, you know, the point of that character is to really kind of be the moral compass of the movie, for lack of a better term, to kind of ground the movie with that central perspective. And she just nails that. She's so good. And then other than that, like, you know, Emma Stone as well, I threw her down. Not because I don't know if there's a particular Emma Stone performance that I love, like nailing one down, but she just always pops up in everything. You know what I mean? Like, she continues to surprise me with, like, she's popping up in comedies, in friggin' musicals, in really grounded dramas, and she always kind of hits it out of the park.
Yeah, he loved her in La La Land, didn't he, Zach?
Oh, of course, loved her in La La Land as much as I loved La La Land.
Wait, hold on. Did you say Emma Stone or Emma Watson?
Emma Stone.
Ah, sorry. I heard Watson. Yeah, okay. Stone's a good shout. Is it my turn now?
Sure.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Anya Taylor-Joy. I think she's great.
Mm.
You know, I think Split was where I was first heard of her, and then, like, you know, going into like The Witch and Thoroughbreds and Marrowbone and, you know, like everything else that she's done. Like, she's consistent, and I think she's really, really great. Yeah, I think it's interesting though, because like I watched Marrowbone this week, and it also had Mia Goth in it, and I think Mia Goth is severely underrated. So I also want to like give her a shout because she's brilliant.
I don't know if I know who that is.
She's really great, and like I'm surprised we don't hear about her more because she's in such great projects. She was in Suspiria and, like, you know, A Cure to Wellness, and she was in the new Emma film, and she, you know, and like she's kind of that young actress up and coming that's, you know, you kind of like, you know, your Saoirse Ronans, your Florence Pughs, and, like, you know, your whatevers, but, you know, you don't really see her name mentioned that much. So
No.
I think I want to give her a shout too, because, you know, getting a shout in Cinema Effect's great.
Oh yeah, dude, it's gonna boost their career into stardom.
Yeah.
I only know Anya Taylor-Joy from those M. Night movies so far, I think.
She was
yeah.
she was also in the Dark Crystal series on Netflix. Did you watch
Right.
that?
No, I never saw that.
No.
No, definitely not. I just see the friggin' those weird. What are they? Puppets? Those weird things? I guess they're puppets, right? Or I don't know if they're CG or whatever. I've seen the image of them. They just terrify me.
To this day.
Yeah.
We'll see Anya Taylor-Joy in the New Mutants when we finish our X-Men watch.
Oh yeah.
Oh
True.
yes,
Finish that through.
dude, that's gonna be a historical moment watching that movie.
Wasn't it? Yeah, it came out like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm keen for it. I know reviews aren't the best, but I mean, like, you know, my feeling for the X-Men series. I'm quite into them, despite, especially the new ones, like, you know, Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. I'm quite into them despite the reviews. So I'm
Yeah.
for New Mutants.
Do you think there'll be any kind of like references and shit? Like, are they going to even try with the whole universe thing at this point, considering it's dead?
I think New Mutants was meant to stand on its own, and like I think like I'm pretty sure like the director wanted it to be its own kind of thing, didn't he?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because it was meant to be that little bit, like, he was kind of diving into, like, you know, horror and shit like that. He wanted it to be that bit more experimental, whatever, like, the thing is. So I have a feeling he might abandon, like, the universe idea, but who knows until we watch it.
Exactly. It'll come to Disney Plus. Probably not. I mean, probably in a few months, I would imagine. Like maybe 5 months.
Or they'll make you pay $50 to watch it tomorrow.
That's right.
Jane, you said like didn't Hans Zimmer do the Dark Phoenix?
Yeah, Hans Zimmer did the Dark Phoenix tour, which is banging.
I'm actually looking forward to that because, like, I don't feel like the other X-Men films have much of a score.
All right, guys, we made it to the end. What are we watching next week, Fitzy?
Next week we're doing the new Charlie Kaufman Netflix film. I'm thinking of ending things. Which came out yesterday. So I'm excited for that.
Yes.
On Netflix. Or did I already say that?
Yeah, you did, but it's all good. It's on Netflix. Re-emphasized. People go and check it out.
It's got Tony Collette. It's got the guy from Harry Potter, the British. Maybe no, he's not British. Is he?
The British guy from
Yeah,
Harry
that
Potter.
one too.
Lupin. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And Clemens, Jesse Plemons.
Very good. All right. Thank you very much, guys, for chatting shit.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Catch you all next time. Have a great rest of your week, and goodbye. 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 Goodbye.